Keep it coming is what he's saying. I've only been to one place in my entire life where it was hard to be a vegetarian, and that was the Ukraine, which I recount in my book a little bit. But I just can't imagine it being easier to be a vegetarian. I mean, I don't know if I've ever been in a restaurant where there wasn't a vegetarian option, and not only that, but one that was good. Certainly, if you do any of your own cooking or any of your own shopping, it's as easy could be. When I look at menus now, it's like I don't even see the meat things. It's, oh, here are my options, and I'm going to choose one of them, and I'm going to enjoy it. So, but Princeton was particularly easy because they went out of their way to cater to all sorts of diets. So, you know, many people, also, when you're in a college cafeteria, you don't necessarily want to eat the meat anyway. I had a friend who worked in a cafeteria, and he was unpacking the meat, and it said, suitable for human consumption. There's a label across the top of it, and so he stopped eating meat. So a lot of people would eat the vegetarian option anyway, but I found it very easy, and I was surrounded by people who were doing the same thing that I was doing. I don't think I've ever heard of a kid who didn't at one point have the experience of learning that duck is duck, and that chicken is chicken, and that hamburger is a cow, that meat is meat. And I certainly had that experience when I was, I guess, relatively late in life. I was maybe 9. That's about when I remember it. And it was an idea I just really couldn't live with. You know, there's no paradox when you're a child of loving animals and eating animals because you don't realize that they're one and the same. And then when you do, people move in one of two directions, either finding ways to reconcile that in their lives or to say, I don't have to reconcile it, I just won't eat animals. And that's what I did. I've been a vegetarian since I was 10, and really my reasoning hasn't changed since then. It's become maybe more mature. There's been some offshoots like realizing the environmental ramifications or the, you know, cultural and economic ramifications. But at the end of the day, it's that I don't want to eat these things that I see and value and like. So in my first book, there's a dog named Sammy Davis Jr. Was he based on a real dog in my life? I used to be terribly afraid of dogs. I mean, probably more afraid of dogs than anybody you've ever met. Actually, a little bit like the character, my namesake, in the book. Until I adopted a dog, which I did 2 years ago, a little more than 2 years ago. I was walking down the street with my wife, and there was a dog that was wearing an Adopt Me vest. And there's a group in my neighborhood called Hearts and Homes. And they had found her tied up in the cemetery. And to this day, I don't know why, but I kneeled down and I pet her. And I suddenly had that same realization that I had when I was a kid and became a vegetarian, which is there's an idea and there's an actuality, and I want them to be in sync. I want them to, I want my ideas about animals to be in line with my behavior toward animals, to the ways that I treat them. And the more exposure I had to this dog, the more I realized not only that I shouldn't be afraid of her, but that she's a really wonderful companion. And you know, it's like the old saying, I think Paul McCartney said this, if slaughterhouses had glass walls, nobody would eat meat. The same could be said of if everybody had to have a cow for a pet or a chicken for a pet. You know, the more time you spend with a living thing, the more you care about it, the more you find not necessarily similarities, because obviously there's this uncrossable distance between animals and humans, but resonances. And sometimes it's exactly the dissimilarities that make you care about them. I was not involved in the making of the movie. I actually went into a theater, just like anybody else, and saw the film. Although I did go on set one day, and I got to play with Sammy Davis Jr., who's actually 2 dogs. It's like Mickey. It might even be Mickey and Minnie, or Mickey and Mouse, something like that. These 2, what are they called? Border Collies, who were probably the smartest animals I had met in the last 10 years. They could respond to commands, very, very sophisticated commands, like, Mickey, come here. Mickey comes here. Show me your face. A little higher, Mickey. A little lower. No, your good side, Mickey. They could do anything. They could make cappuccinos. They were just incredible dogs. Virtually every American is born into the idea that eating meat is healthy and normal. and to erase that, to just to simply one day or even over years come to a realization that that might not be the correct way or even the natural way of doing things, it's not easy. So, the majority of my friends still are not vegetarians. I don't blame them. I don't think they're unethical. I think that it's a way of life, or it's a way of decision making that grows on one and that one grows into. And for some reason, I hold in the back of my mind that everybody I know is going to be a vegetarian in 20 years. It's something I really believe. Vegetarianism isn't a black or white, all or nothing proposition. And unfortunately, a lot of people think of it that way. That if I'm not going to stop eating meat, stop eating dairy, stop wearing leather, then if I can't go all the way, then I'll just not do anything. Because you're a fraud if you have only some and not the rest. But in fact, it's not a hypothetical situation. It's a very real situation. When we eat meat, we're contributing to a certain kind of world. And when we refrain from eating meat, we contribute to a different kind of world. And we decide which world do we want to live in. How would we like the world to look for our children and our grandchildren, our great-great-grandchildren? What do we think is going to promote the most well-being, not only for animals, but for humans, for our culture? And Tolstoy once said that if everyone were vegetarian, there wouldn't be any war anymore. And it sounds like a very silly statement on the surface, because what on earth does one have to do with the other? But I've thought about it a lot, and I believe in it. Not because the meat industry itself is causing wars, but because if we became the kind of people who were regularly choosing our reason over our hungers, being more deliberate, more willful about our sense of what's right, we'd be living in a very different kind of world. There's an idea in the world, it seems like, that there's only enough time to care about one thing, or to care about two things, and I think that's ridiculous. Not only do a lot of these issues like caring about animal well-being, caring about human well-being, caring about the environment, not only do they all go hand in hand, they're all inextricably related, but each of us has the ability and the time to respond to all of them. And you can do it either very explicitly. You can work for a political campaign. You can write letters to your representatives. Or you can do it as a lifestyle. Being a vegetarian doesn't take any time away from me from buying recycled paper products. I have plenty of time to do both of those. In fact, I always have to eat a meal and I always have to buy paper products. So it's just that when I do it, I make a certain choice based on ideals that I have. And the amazing thing is, the more you concern yourself with these issues, the more you want to concern yourself with them, and the more time you feel like you even have to concern yourself with them. It's very contagious. It's very exhilarating, actually, to always be thinking about what kind of citizen you're going to be in the world and what kind of world you're going to participate in the creation of by being that kind of citizen.